Every great magic trick consists of 3 parts or acts. The first part is called the pledge. The magician shows you something ordinary, a deck of cards, a bird, or a man. He shows you this object. Perhaps he asks you to inspect it to see if it is indeed real, unaltered, or normal. But of course, it probably isn't. The second act is called the turn. The magician takes the ordinary something and makes it do something extraordinary. Now you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it. Because of course you're not really looking for it. You don't really want to know. You want to be fooled. But you wouldn't clap yet, because making something disappear isn't enough. You have to bring it back. That's why every magic trick has a third act, the hardest part. The part we call the prestige. As the 18th century draws to a close, 2 rival magicians feud bitterly after one of them performs the ultimate magic trick, teleportation. His rival tries desperately to uncover the secret of his routine, experimenting with dangerous new science as his quest takes him to the brink of insanity and jeopardizes the lives of everyone around the pair. Welcome to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode, we're going to be covering 2006's The Prestige, written and directed by Christopher Nolan.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Double Feature. I'm here with Colin. Colin, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. Dude, we are fucking finally getting Christopher Nolan on our fucking bill, dude. What do you feel? How do you feel about that?
Man, you know, it's odd that The Prestige is the movie that we end up covering first.
I was thinking about that too.
but I guess, like, it's actually, you know, it's fair ground because, like, do you really want to do Dark Knight? Do you really want to do Inception or Interstellar?
No.
Like, starting off, like, that is not the Nolan that I want to start with. And, you know what, this is kind of flies low on the radar of his, like, filmography, you know? Like, I feel like a lot of people have seen it. It was pretty big when it came out. But at the same time, it doesn't get the recognition that that his other films do. What do you think?
Right. No, I definitely agree, man. There's no way I'm starting with The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises or Batman Begins even, right? I'm not starting with Interstellar. I'm not starting with Inception. And honestly, man, the more I watch it, Dunkirk fucking moves up my list so fucking quickly. That movie is just an experience, and I'm not comfortable with talking about that yet. Have you seen Insomnia?
Oh, is that the one with Robin Williams and Pacino?
Yes, that's right. That's the one.
Yeah. I've seen that one.
So that's like the most sort of, I guess, forgotten Nolan, and like I don't think it's you know, that great. But really, man, this is a guy whose kind of like career is fucking incredible. Like, you talk about directors and auteurs, man. I don't think really like there is no top 10 directors list that doesn't name Nolan. Top 5 even, dude. Like, this guy was one of my favorite directors for a very, very fucking long time, man. And like, honestly, I think The Prestige is, to be honest, a great place to start, even though I didn't honestly think that we would start here. It is just such a fucking great movie. I'm showing my cards, tipping my hand early. I fucking love this movie, dude. What about you? You can get your fucking thoughts in on it, man. Let's dive right into our thoughts on this bitch.
Well, yeah, I think this might have been, because what did this come out? Yeah, 2006. I'm not sure if I saw this or Batman Begins first. Probably Batman Begins. I even had like the tie-in video game when I was younger, which actually wasn't a terrible Batman game. I mean, it's not like Arkham Knight or anything, but yeah, I remember seeing this, and it always hit a sweet spot for me because it's a perfect, like, it's a thriller. It's got magicians. It's got sci-fi. It's a period piece. I was like, whoa, like, what is this fucking movie?
I can imagine you as a fucking teenager. It's got magic.
Oh, dude, yeah.
It's got magic in it.
Expelliarmus. But yeah, I fucking love this movie. It's actually, you know, this is saying something about Nolan. It's his lowest rated film on like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic and stuff at like 75%, which is still like,
that's a fucking travesty.
Yeah, right. I mean, 75% is still a decent score, but do I think it deserves higher? Yes. But like, if your worst film film is at 75%. Congratulations, you're one of the best directors living right now. Like, and Nolan absolutely is. I mean, you obviously we have the Dark Knight trilogy, but then also like Interstellar, Inception. I think is one of the best movies made in the last like 50 years. Dude. I fucking love Inception. Inception, like
modern Matrix, dude.
Dude, Inception like revitalized my love for movies. Like I did not think that. I was like, I'm a big fan of these high concept kind of like ideas, like stuff like Flatlanders, stuff like Inception, stuff where there's like a science behind something natural that happens to your body. I love that kind of shit. And like digging into like what those things mean. And I think with Inception, like that thing just rewrote so many rules for like how to do high concept like sci-fi now. And this is from a guy who, I mean, he's definitely got his toe firmly stepped in some sci-fi. We've got Interstellar, but then you go and you've got stuff like Dunkirk and Memento, and like you said, Insomnia. I know this is a guy who's like kind of all over the place. Like I wouldn't even mind seeing Christopher Nolan do like a fucking horror movie. Like that would be awesome, dude. That would be so cool. But I adore this movie. I mean, just the cast. I mean, good Lord, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Hugh Jackman, Scarlett Johansson. Like, dude, that is a huge cast.
Dude,
like
Andy Serkis, fucking David Bowie.
Yeah, dude. Holy fuck. I mean, if you'd have told me there's a movie where Batman, Wolverine, and Black Widow hang out with fucking David Bowie, I was like, what? Like, what kind of
Ulysses Claw from Black Panther.
Yeah, right. I'm like, what kind of movie is that? But yeah, I fucking love this movie. I think it's super underrated. It's one of my higher ups on the Nolan scale. I still like Interstellar. I like a little bit more than Interstellar, but not as much as like, the Dark Knight trilogy and Inception and things like that. But I fucking love this. This was right around the time I think that movie with Edward Norton and Paul Giamatti came out, The Illusionist. So there was like a little bit of confusion there, but it just sucks that movie even gets compared to The Prestige because it's huge. I mean, it was like for one thing, I think this movie like barely made its budget back in the U.S. The U.S. box office. I think it cost like $40 million to make. It made like 53 at the U.S. box office. But all in all, I think it cleared at least like $100 million. But 110. Still, yeah, it's based off a 1995 novel by Christopher Priest. Not a whole lot of stuff changed from that novel, by the way. I haven't read the book. I just did a little bit of digging, seeing what all was different. There's a few things that are different, but for the most part, it's still you've got Tesla in there. You've got this machine that's cloning people and teleporting them, and really, it's the magic, and it's a perfect kind of blend of where science meets magic in a way, like mysticism, and I love that. But it's also the period setting, like it feels so real and so lived in, and that's one thing to get people to start believing in a movie that's set in a time like that. You really have to build that world like proper, and I think that Christopher Nolan just does such a great job making this like late 18th century kind of feel to everything, because it's right. It's also very telling, and like it's right before a lot of mysticism starts to die. It's right before we start figuring things out, and we start like 1901. We're about to build like the I think the first car came out around 1901, or that might be 1911. But just we're not that far removed from these things that are about to turn and just revolutionize the world. So it's kind of an end of an era of wonder, of amazement, of like, well, how does he do that? Well, I can't explain it, so it must be magic. So I think that's kind of cool, and I think that's kind of a big thing about the movie is that the illusion, which is, it's not really magic. The illusion is not enough anymore. Like, we want to make real magic now, and I'm like, that fucking sucks me in every fucking time, man. But what did you think about this?
Dude, I fucking love this movie. I saw this very, very, I saw this in high school first. I didn't see it the year it came out in 2006. I remember I was a little bit older, but I can't remember whether it was my first Nolan movie, because I definitely had seen Batman Begins before I saw The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight came out in 2008. So I think this kind of fell in there somewhere around there. And man, when I saw this, I was like blown away. I was like, I got to show this to my best mate. And like, we fucking sat there and we watched it. And I was like, right, like this is right. Are you fucking with me? And he fucking loved it as much as I did, dude. This movie pulls off like Shyamalan levels of twists. Like this movie, I totally agree with you, dude. No one really talks about this movie. Like this movie is so little talked about. Like it's crazy. Like outside of my friendship group that I have, like our little circle, like we love this movie. I love this fucking movie as well, like I just said. But other than that, man, like when you say The Prestige, no one thinks of this movie, even though it's got fucking massive actors like Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman and ScarJo. Like, you know, it's wild. It's like a fucking little aberration like that no one's really heard of. So yeah, man. This isn't my favorite Nolan movie, and I don't think it's my second or third. I think it's definitely somewhere in the top 5. But man, this is a director that just totally knocks out great movie after great movie. Like, look at, you got Dunkirk, Inception, Interstellar, the Dark Knight trilogy, like, you know, and then like once you start to get down there, you're like, holy shit, is this going to get fucking knocked out of the top 5? And you know, now that I say that, I'm just like, fuck, maybe it is out of the top 5. But you've also got, like, don't forget his first major one, which was Memento. Like, holy shit, dude, like that shit is wild. But yeah, this is such a great movie in terms of its storytelling. I think what Nolan does best is storytelling. Like when he gets into his action scenes, he's not really that proficient. And I think that's kind of really telling in the Batman trilogy. Like that's one of my negatives about the Batman trilogy. I love that trilogy. Do not send me emails, okay? Fucking The Dark Knight was one of my favorite movies of all time for a very long time. So do not send me emails. I fucking love that trilogy. I just think Nolan kind of has a weak spot for action sequences. And he's really a lot better when it comes to storytelling and, you know, character development and character motivations and fucking music, dude. Like the music in this movie is awesome. Like it's great. This movie is just a fantastic way to tell a story about ambition and jealousy and, you know, the desire to be the best, and, you know, what lengths we would go to achieve those things and, you know, better our rivals and what morals we'll break to reach those fucking things. Like those questions, man, are fucking awesome. Like I love that shit. It's just a well put together script, and look, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes long, and it doesn't feel like that ever. Like it doesn't feel like a movie that's 2 hours long. I'm just like, this is not dragging for me. Really? We do this all the time. I don't know. I didn't think this dragged at all, dude. Like I loved, maybe it's just because I'm so into the characters. Like especially the second time around, dude, like you're watching it and you're like, holy shit, Borden says this because, you know, Fallon is this, and, you know, you're just like, wow, okay. Like, you know, it's one of those like Sixth Sense situations where you're just like, oh shit, you know, like you watch it the second time around in a different light. And I just think, man, like this is a fantastic movie to start like Nolan's resume with. So I'm really keen to get into this, dude. Like, what do you think? You want to get into this bitch?
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Fuck yeah. All right, guys. So just before we kick off, one piece of trivia. Did you know who was supposed to direct this instead of Christopher Nolan?
No.
Sam Mendes, who directed fucking hell. How am I blanking right now? I had it in my head earlier. Hold on. No, but he did Skyfall, and he did you know, the latest one, Spectre. American Beauty. That's the one. Fucking hell. How did I forget?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He did, you know, Road to Perdition. Like he's a damn good director. Like he can direct. But yeah, so this ultimately went to Nolan because Nolan, his, like, the script came across the producer's desk, and he's just like, yep, I want to, like, the script for Following. I think he saw Following, which is like Nolan's movie before Memento, and he's just like, yeah, I want this guy to direct it. So so this, okay, full disclosure, guys, this was a tough movie to do notes for the podcast on, just because there's so many like time jumps and things like that. This was like the way this movie's written, like its time sort of consistencies is like how Inception is layered. Like, you know how they got the layers of the dreams and shit like that. Like there are like fucking flashbacks within flashbacks in this.
Oh,
and I'm just like, god damn, dude, how do I do notes for this for the podcast? But we'll power through it, and yeah, hopefully it'll turn out all right on the other end. We open with a shot of the multiple top hats over Borden's voiceover, "Are you watching closely?" Then we're introduced to Cutter, played by Michael Caine, obviously a fucking Nolan favorite. Like he's in every single Nolan movie except I think
dude,
Dunkirk. Yeah. Telling us about every magic trick consists of 3 parts. This is intercut with Cutter showing a little bird and flash forwards of Angier performing while Borden inspects Angier's machine. The music by David Julian here is fantastic, dude. I love this kind of like subtle like violin sort of thing. Like Nolan these days is kind of like really wrapped up in the Hans Zimmer of it all.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
you know, it's all like, you know, drums and epicness. But like this movie, like, you know, being a smaller scale as it is, it totally works, man. We see Borden going backstage. He bumps into a stagehand and tells him he's part of the act. He comes across a blind man as Angier walks into an electrical field up above. Borden witnesses Angier fall through a trapdoor and into a water tank. And Borden just watches. Like, we don't know exactly what goes down. Obviously, later we find out, but Borden just watches. He watches Angier struggling for help in the tank. And through the voiceover, we hear Cutter saying, you know, the first part, the magician shows you something ordinary. He asks you to inspect it to make sure that it's normal, but of course, it probably isn't. The second act, known as the turn, the magician takes the ordinary something and makes it do something extraordinary. You're looking for the secret, but you won't find it because, of course, you're not really looking. You don't really want to know. You want to be fooled. And the third part is called the prestige. It's the part where you bring the thing back. Making something disappear isn't enough. And then we cut to the court trial where Cutter is giving evidence as a witness, testifying that he saw Borden go below the stage and he watched Angier drown. So what do you think about this opening, dude? Like this kind of like shot out of sequence, you know, kind of giving us a bit of the story, but not everything. What do you think about that? That's very Nolan.
Well, I fucking love the way Michael Caine says shit. It's so fucking dude. I love. You know,
your British accent is pretty good.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not that great. I'm sure British listeners are like, "Fuck you."
Fuck you.
Yeah, but
I play some football.
We used to always make fun of Michael Caine in high school and just like prank call people and be like, "Now, it should happen to be that my balls are the size of King Kong's knuckles, or King Kong's knuckles just happen to be the size of my balls." That's
great.
I fucking adore Michael Caine. He's so good. I love the way he talks.
Oh, totally.
That'll be a sad day, you know. What a great filmography. But yeah, I love this. I love because it is a complicated story. Most of the story that we're going to hear is from the point of view of Angier has Borden's journal, Borden has Angier's, but Borden is reading Angier's journal as Angier is reading Borden's. Like, it's very it gets kind of complicated in there.
You got to stick with it, man. You can't you can't get distracted. You know, this movie's going to pull some shit from out under you, and you got to pay attention, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly. Kind of a shame that Hugh Jackman never did anything else with Christopher Nolan. You know, I was surprised. I was really surprised by that. And you know, his American accent is just fucking flawless. I mean, he's been doing one for fucking 2 decades now. And I love oh god, I'm gonna say Christopher Nolan. I love Christian Bale's because, like, you know, he is British, but he's very Cockney in this. It's a lot thicker. I think Scarlett Johansson's okay. You know, she does an okay job. Her British accent's...
Yeah, I think her accent's a bit spotty though.
Right, yeah, it's kind of meh, you know, but she plays a cool character. She didn't really take me out of it at all. But I like this. I like the way that this is set up. I like that we're kind of like we're being set up to the end, and now all of this stuff is about to start making sense. You know, like we see the blind guy, we see this, we see that. We're like, well, what does this mean? Well, out of context, it doesn't mean anything. But this is a movie that I think it was Peter Travers from Rolling Stone. I think that's his last name.
Pete Travers, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, this is a movie that as soon as you watch it, you want to watch it again. And it was probably about 2 years ago. It was the first time I'd seen it in many, many years. And I popped it in and I was like, I got to watch that again. Because immediately it's one of those things where once you know, it's, you know, it's kind of like...
everything else takes a different angle or twist, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, everything else takes a totally different turn once you know who that person really is and the twist is turned. It's like, right. Oh, shit.
I remember when I was younger, one of the biggest things was for me, like when Rebecca Hall's character, Sarah, tells Borden that she's pregnant, and the first thing Borden says is, we should have told Fallon.
Right. That's so fucking telling, man. man. Like when you go back and watch it now, you're like, dude, there's so much
it's kind
stuff.
of obvious. Like it is obvious if you don't, like if you do know, it's super obvious.
Right, yeah. And even the little things like when she's repairing his hand, she's like, it's just as bad as it was yesterday. It's like it just happened.
Right.
So there's like a lot of stuff there when you start paying attention. Now I'm like, dude, how did I never see this? You know, this is like, and I think that's one thing is like you can't quite guess what's really going on because the truth is much simpler than it seems. It really is. You know, that's the crazy part. But you have Hugh Jackman prodding you along, saying, no, there's something else. This is real magic. Something's going on here. Something's going on here. You start to believe him because you want to believe him. Much like a magic trick, you want to believe that it's real. You don't want to be fooled. You don't want to see that this is not real magic. So that's when it starts taking a turn into like not the paranormal, but you know the more sci-fi kind of aspects of it. Which it's just that shit is just fucking great. How they make that turn so seamlessly, and it's in such parallel with what the movie is talking about. Not wanting, you know, you don't want the trick ruined. You know, it's kind of like when you start getting into movies and you seeing how they're made and how formulaic they are, it can ruin shit for you. It really can. And you start really like paying attention for it. But when you watch something like magic and you know that it's an illusion, but then someone's like, no, that's not an illusion. That's real magic. That's when you're like, oh shit. Like it feels the feeling of wonder is just so great. I love that, being mystified by it.
So I have watched this with a few people who don't necessarily like the way this movie sort of ends up with the science fiction element of it. And to be honest, man, like you said, I think that kind of works in the favor of the movie. You know, like you get this answer of like how Angie is like performing this magic trick, like him, you know, cloning himself and then, you know, killing the former ones. And really, if you're disappointed by that ending, then isn't that like what the movie's saying? Like, you know, you're not supposed to give away the secret because you'll be disappointed.
Right, exactly.
Like you could work that way as well. So, by the way, man, I don't want to go past it. This movie, while we're on the editing of it, this movie's so well edited, dude. Like, I got to talk about Lee Smith for a sec. So, Lee Smith, he's an Australian film editor because, hey, Australian, I got to bring it up. He was born in Sydney. He has worked as an editor for all of Nolan's films since Batman Begins.
Nice.
Which is awesome because you got movies like this and you got movies like Inception, dude, which are totally tough to fucking edit, man. And he won an Oscar for his latest film, Dunkirk, which is pretty cool. You know what else he edited? Fucking RoboCop 2.
Oh my god.
Wild, dude.
Nuke!
Fuck that. We find out that Cutter is an ingenieur, a person who designs illusions and constructs apparatus necessary for performing them. And Cutter says that the tank was used for an earlier trick, but that Borden must have placed it under the trapdoor after an interval. The defense lawyer wants to know the mechanics of the real transported man, but Cutter refuses, saying that he has the right to unsell it, and if he tells the court, the trick is worthless. And then we get Borden at the prison, right? He's visited by a lawyer named Owens. It's so weird to see lawyers being referred to as solicitors in movies these days because that's what we refer to them as, and British people. So, yeah.
Have you ever seen Robin Hood Men in Tights, by the way?
No, I haven't. Is that Mel Brooks? Is that the Mel Brooks one?
Yeah, and the sheriff of Nottingham is this actor, Roger Rees, who plays Owens. Like, dude, this guy's so fucking British in his dialect, dude. Holy fuck. He's like, he wishes to buy your blah, 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 blah. Like, it is so fucking British, man.
Dude, he's British here. I represent Lord Caldlow.
Yeah. I'm like, holy fuck.
He represents Lord Caldlow, an accomplished amateur magician and historian. By the way, I don't know how you can be accomplished and amateur at the same time, but all right.
Yeah, right.
And Borden just gets straight to it. How much for my tricks? Owen wants Borden to give up the secret behind the transported man for his daughter, but Borden very importantly says Fallon will take care of her. So it's really like just these little flourishes. Every time Fallon gets referenced, man, I'm just like, yeah, that's cool, man. I don't know how I missed that, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like Owen scoffs and says, Bernard Fallon, a man with a past obscure as your own. Like, that's cool, dude.
That's about the only exposition you get in this as well. That's
right.
The only like dialogue exposition that I really like.
Right, totally. Owens gives Borden Angie's diary and asks him to consider his daughter. And then Borden gets to reading Angie's diary, right? We cut to Angie on...
I I also love, he gives him the diary. He's like, if it, this is the diary he had. He was trying to figure out your secret. He just straight out, he's like, he never did. And he's like, well, that's not what I heard, blah, blah, blah. But Borden's just like, well, you're wrong. Unless he has a twin, he could never do it. It's like, God, that's so fucking good, man.
Do you want to talk about the twins here, or should we get to it later?
Let's wait.
All right. Owens, so we cut to Angier on a train to Colorado on a search for answers. He wants to basically unravel Borden's secrets, right? We find out that Angier is Borden's notebook, but it's coded by a cipher, which will take months to crack. Well, my passion is equal to the task, he says. I love that line.
Nice. Yeah, very good.
Angier drives. He can't drive. Angier arrives in Colorado Springs and notices the whole town has electricity.
I'm sorry. He drives, just like, pulls up in like a fucking Lamborghini.
He's got a fucking Corvette or some shit.
It's like the Lamborghini they have in fucking Dumb and Dumber.
Angier checks in at the hotel and tells the receptionist that he's staying as long as it takes, and he's told that the peak of the mountain is closed for scientific experimentation, but we find out that's why Angier is there. Angier then travels up the mountain. Cool detail that he has a cane, by the way, which comes in later. I dig the cane.
Dude, I could live on this little foggy mountaintop that they're on, dude. I love that. Like, I love going out real early in the mornings, like walking our dog, like 6:30 in the morning. There's nobody else out there. There's that real thick fog before the sun comes out. I'm like, dude, I could live out here in this shit. I love that stuff.
Especially knowing what awaits at the top. Fucking David Bowie and Andy Serkis.
Yeah, right.
Jesus. He gets to an electric fence that's plastered with no trespassing signs, and we meet Mr. Ali, played by the great Andy Serkis, who points a shotgun at Angier. So this was the first time I'd seen Andy Serkis not be a CGI creature.
Same.
And I was like, I like this guy, man. Like, I like the way, first of all, I love his voice. Like, I love the cadence of his voice, dude.
Dude, master of the fucking English language, man. He's so goddamn good. Like, at throwing his dialect, like Gary Oldman level good of like falling into characters and shit. Like, Andy Serkis, so fucking underrated.
Have you seen Black Panther yet?
I finally watched it.
Yeah, no, did you, like, how great is his accent in that? Like the South African accent?
Oh, dude, yeah, he is so fucking good, and I think he's also in 13 going on 30 with Jennifer Gardner, and he's like her boss at it. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like Lindsay,
why did you watch that?
Well, for one thing, it's time travel, technically, and
all right, yeah.
and it's got Mark Ruffalo. But we were watching it, we were like, just, it was on TV or something like that, and I was like, dude, is that Andy Serkis? It's like, this dude can fucking play anybody.
Dude, he's a fucking chameleon, man. But I just like, and not to mention like how talented is this guy, man? Like, I remember back when Dawn of the Planet of the Apes came out, that's the second one, there were like pushes at the Oscars for him to be nominated as best actor, and he obviously plays an ape in that, like a CGI motion capture ape. So like the fact that he's got that much support behind him, he wasn't eventually nominated, but there was a massive push, dude. And this is the guy again. Like, he pioneered fucking motion capture, which is a technology that gets used everywhere now, even in games.
Right, and like I think it's called like the Imaginarium or something like that. Like the
Imaginarium, yeah.
That's like the new Industrial Light and Magic. Like, they have just pushed on the forefront of that stuff, man. And now, like, if you put a character in like that, like even James Spader in Age of Ultron, like, that's facial recognition. Mark Ruffalo, facial recognition. Josh Brolin, Thanos, facial recognition. Like, it has all of like that is like the staple for, because you have all these actors that want to play these characters, but like, dude, I just don't want to be stuck in a booth all day, not around other actors. So like, it actually like helps. It's like, if you're capturing that performance straight from that actor, why aren't you nominating them for something? Like, if anything, isn't that harder to stay in character for that when you're covered in like dots and green CGI shit?
Bullshit.
Like, man.
Yeah. And I don't want to let go like how long ago he pioneered this shit, right? Like, Gollum was 2001, guys. Like, that is ages ago.
Yeah, dude, he's played like what, fucking King Kong, Caesar, like, like, God, so much shit since then.
Yeah. Ali recognizes Angier and is basically in awe of him. You're the great Danton. I love his accent, man. I saw your show in London. You guessed every object the audience had in their pockets. Angier wants to see Tesla because he made a machine for a colleague of his, and Ali says Tesla can't meet with him. Angier then reads Borden's journal, and we go back we go into a flashback of a flashback, which is going to happen, guys. So bear with us.
Oh yeah.
Borden and Angie are in an audience and are picked to help bind one of the performers. We know that they're in on it, and it turns out that the woman is Angie's wife. I like the leg kiss, and then like he comes back later when Cutter's like, I can see you. It's like in the guys in rows 3 and 4.
Yes, stuck in the blokes in rows 3 and 4.
She gets hoisted up and dropped in the tank while Cutter times how long she's in there for. And after a beat, voila, she's out of the tank. Pretty impressive, I think, man. Like, I dig magic tricks. Like,
yeah,
it's so like hokey. Like, I'm sure there are ways out of that. Like, there's like little shortcuts and things. But like, honestly, if you're doing a show like this, I'm fucking down. I'll see this shit.
Yeah, I especially love the magic that like I actually learned a little bit when I was a kid. There's certain things that really go by probability. Like I want you to think of a single digit number that's an odd number, and it's just statistics. Like most people go for like the number 9, and I can't tell you how many times I did that to people as a kid, and it totally worked. People were like, "Dude, how did you know that?" Like because there's weird things of human nature that just like favor certain things over the other, and that's how they really get in there on that shit. And the whole I never got into like cards disappearing and shit like that, but like look at someone like David Blaine, dude. How the fuck does he do that shit, man? Like I'm just as skeptical as the next guy. I don't know everything, and I'm sure he's not really doing like some of the stuff that he's doing. But if he's not, like, how the fuck is he doing that shit, man? Like that's it. If anything, it's still so what? It's not really real, but it's still like, okay, if that's not real, that's even more impressive. How the fuck are you doing that, man? Like, how are you making it look like something that it's not? That's so cool.
Right, and the first instinct to like this movie plays it on so well. The first instinct that we have as someone who's seen something like that is to ask, how are you doing that? But like once you're told, you're immediately like disappointed, right?
Right, exactly.
Cause it just takes away from all the magic of it and the majesty.
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right, exactly. Also, we'll talk about it later, a bit more later. But did you think when you first saw this, the transported man and like the way they built it up to be this incredible trick? When I was younger, dude, I was just like, is that it? Like, is that the trick? Like, I didn't really appreciate at the time just how kind of cool this trick was.
Now, are you talking about Borden's or Angier's?
I'm talking about both. Like, both. Because like, it starts off with Borden having this crazy trick that Angier like starts like, admiring and kind of goes into this obsession. But I'm just like, when I was younger, when I saw this, I'm just like, is that it? Is that all it takes? Like, it's not that good of a trick. Like, but obviously as an adult, you're just like, you factor in a lot more things. Like you factor in like, holy shit, like how the fuck could he have done this? Number one, Right.
And I think the thing with Borden's is it's so just has no showmanship. It has no flair. Right. But then when you watch Angier's, it's like, whoa, like that's fucking impressive.
Totally. So Borden complains about Milton being boring, that he won't take any risks. So Milton is obviously the guy who owns the theater. And Borden says that he won't even try a bullet catch. And Cutter explains that all it takes is some smart-ass volunteer to put a button in the barrel for a bullet catch to go wrong. Remember that, folks. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. We find out that Borden has been working on a masterpiece of a trick and that nobody else can do his trick. And I'm just like, of course nobody else can. Where the fuck do you find another Borden?
You're right.
Cutter suggests that if the boys want to see real magic, go to the Tenley and watch Chung Ling Soo. Did you look into this guy? Because I did.
No, not at all. Enlighten me.
Chung Ling Soo was a stage character created by William Ellsworth Robinson, a white man who disguised himself as a Chinese man to cash in on audiences' enthusiasm for the exotic. This is real, guys. Robinson lived as Chung, never breaking character while in public. He died in March 1918 when a bullet catch trick went wrong. "My God, I've been shot" were both his last words and the first English words he'd spoken in 19 years.
Wow.
Fucking wild, right?
I just couldn't imagine this like tiny old Asian guy walking around and just like, oh fuck, I've been shot. and just dropping the whole fucking act, man. Oh fucking cunt, I've been fucking shot. That would be so fucking funny to watch. Oh, dude, you know what it reminds? All right, you know what it reminds me of? Have you? Have you seen this news reporter where the bug hits him in the mouth in the middle of him talking?
He goes from zero to hood like real quick.
Dude,
motherfucker.
Dude, literally, it's like, what really happened at this Augusta high school that led to Chris Wood's death? Man, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, man, I got shit flying in my mouth. Get the fuck out of this country ass fucked up town. Dude, I love shit like that, man.
It's great, man. It's great because it's just so like, I'm trying to like maintain my public image.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. Gotta I gotta compose myself. Cutter warns Borden about tying the knot. If the knot slips and Julia's on the hoist, she'll break a leg. Borden wants to tie the Langford double because it'll hold tighter, but Cutter shuts that shit down, saying it's not a wet knot. You got to tie the Langford double, is what fucking Michael Caine says. Julia's pretty confident though. Like that. I think this time around when I watched it, I picked up on that a lot. Like Julia being, confident. She wants Borden to do this.
Yeah, she wants a challenge.
She wants a challenge, right? Exactly. And Angia tells Cutter that he doesn't trust Borden. The boys go and watch Chung Ling Soo do the goldfish trick. I'm just picturing Chung Ling Soo getting shot while having the goldfish like between his legs.
Or he gets into that carriage and he's like, "Fuck, where's the nail, mate?"
Fucking take me to the pub. It's pretty impressive actually. I do like this trick. And I love the amazement in Bale's eyes. Like fucking honestly, between the two, I think Bale fucking nails this movie. Like and that's nothing, not to take anything away from Jackman. Just Bale, I have a love for Bale. Like Bale is incredible in everything that I see him in. Like he completely devotes himself to everything he's in. And I don't think this is an exception, man. Like Bale is fantastic in this movie. What do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think they're both about tied for me because, like, I think as the viewer, Bale is more of our protagonist if we have one, so to speak, because we see way more stuff from Angier's like point of view, and we see his deterioration and going down into all of this. And we, because Borden is really the one, like, he's the one that loves it. Like they both love it in different ways. Borden loves it for himself. Borden loves it for, like, he wants the magician's lifestyle. He like, it's not for praise, it's not for adoration or any of this other stuff. It's just strictly for the art form in itself. And he could give a fuck what people think about, whatever. Or maybe it's like 80% of it's for himself and 20% is, what the crowd is thinking. Versus, like, when you look at someone like Hugh Jackman, who's playing, Angier, it's way more for the crowd. It's way more for, like, the adoration. He wants the credit. That's why it becomes a problem later on with his double. He's tired of taking the bows under stage, So I think it's interesting. We have these people that love it for, like, bipolar opposite reasons, but they love it, like, to the same degree, just in different directions. That's all. That's the only difference between them for me, is the fact that, like, Hugh Jackman has this whole thing, and they kind of have a leg on each other. Like, they have this great conversation at the end of the movie, which I won't skip to yet. But that whole conversation is great, and you can see where Angier's almost kind of a protagonist until he started doing all of this crazy shit with murder and stuff. But his motivations for why he enjoys magic are just as valid to me as Borden's.
Right, exactly. I think, yeah, and it's definitely, like, reinforced with Angier's, like, final line, right? Like his, like, the look on their faces.
Right.
Like he
yeah,
talks about,
exactly.
yeah. So outside, Borden and Angier watch Sue get into his coach in amazement, and Borden is impressed by Sue's total devotion to his art, utter self-sacrifice, he says. And I love that line that Angier says about Borden. What does he know of self-sacrifice? And I'm just like, well, everything. Like, these two led, like, such different lives, but man, like, I maybe it's just because I think I just like Bale's character a little bit more than Angier. But and look, that's a smart thing of the script. Like, neither of these guys are villains and neither of these guys are heroes. Like, they totally have vices and they totally have good things about them as well.
Well, I think we're designed to like Christian Bale's Borden more because he's the underdog. Whereas, like, we kind of always have the feeling that Angier's, like, more affluent. He's more refined.
And rich,
like,
yeah,
exactly. He's an American in England. He has the means of travel. He's rich. So I think we're automatically kind of predisposed to want Borden to get this more, because it kind of feels like you have a guy who's naturally talented but has a fucking out of tune guitar, and maybe it's missing a string, versus the guy who has a $40,000 studio but doesn't really know how to play with like his soul, like that kind of thing.
Right.
That's the kind of like distinction I took away from it.
And not to jump too far ahead, but like that's 100% like apparent later on when the first thing that Angier like jumps to is like when Tesla's telling him about the cost, he's like, oh, price is no matter, price is not an issue. Like,
right, exactly.
He's just like, it's all about money to him. So,
and I don't want to jump like too far ahead. Just the part where it's Hugh Jackman practicing with the bowl between his legs, and they're like, oh, well, that's the illusion. The man's been pretending to be a cripple for years. And I love when he's talking to his wife, and she says, so the guy pretends to be a cripple for years, and he's like, yeah, in day-to-day life, this is just what he's like. This is what this is what Borden's saying, but like I couldn't fathom it. Living my whole life pretending to be somebody else. Like, motherfucker, that's what you're doing right now.
Right. Exactly.
Like holy shit, I didn't catch that until this viewing, and I was like, you motherfucker, man.
It's fantastic. And of course, this is the same scene that, she says the Great Danton should be your name, right?
Mm-hmm.
We flash back to Borden meeting Sarah, played by Rebecca Hall. Dude, I love Rebecca Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Have you still haven't seen The Gift, have you? I think I suggested it to you a while ago. She's in that. That's the one. That's the one directed by Joel Edgerton. Definitely check it out. Her nephew is upset that the magician kills a bird, and importantly, asks about its brother, which is a bit of foreshadowing.
Oh, for sure. Dude, could this woman have not totally subbed in for Anne Hathaway in Dark Knight Rises? Like, come on, dude. She would have been awesome.
Catwoman. I think Rebecca Hall's a little more gentle. I don't know why I get that vibe from her.
See, but like Anne Hathaway, I just was never super believable to me, like as that character. Like, I just think there's something about Rebecca Hall. Like, I think she could fucking pull it off. She could be a real badass.
She could be a badass. She's also really like, she comes off as really genuine and sweet, not only in this movie, but also in Iron Man 3. She's in Iron Man 3 as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like she in this movie, dude, like I feel so bad for her, man. Like, I'm just like,
dude,
wow.
Yeah. Like, and especially when she smiles, like she doesn't, like, you look at Scarlett Johansson, who's just real busty, blonde, blue-eyed, like perfect teeth, big like lips. And when I look at Sarah, thank you. When I look at Sarah, like I like her teeth, like the way that it's not like a perfect smile. She's very like girl next door, but I love that. Like, she rocks that so well.
Right. Sarah smiles with her eyes, and Olivia doesn't. So
right. Good call. Nice.
Yeah, I'm fucking doing all right, eh? This podcasting thing's all right.
I said smile with your eyes, not with your fucking teeth.
Also, I don't want to go past it. Just how you're just like, yeah, I like her teeth, and I'm just like, whoa.
Dude, I do. There's something about, like, you see somebody,
I know what you're saying, like
perfect,
a natural beauty, right?
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Borden puts the bird back in the aviary and talks to it, telling it that it's the lucky one today. He reveals a hidden compartment under the table where they actually had crushed the bird. Borden pulls a coin from behind the kid's ear. Are you watching closely? And he tells the kid not to reveal the secret. The secret impresses no one. The trick you use it for is everything. By the way, this is the first of two double-sided coins that are used in Nolan's films. Obviously, Two-Face.
Oh, I thought it was Memento.
No, wait, is there a coin in that?
No, you
fuck
fucking...
You. Yeah, I hate your sarcasm.
You should deaf cunt.
Borden wants to come in for a cup of tea, and I just put in brackets sex.
Yeah.
But she says no, but Borden's in there anyway. So is that the brother already in there?
That's got to be Fallon. There's no way.
It's got to be, right? Yeah. Cutter shows the judge Angier's machine, telling him it was built by a wizard who can do things that magicians claim to do. He says that the magician has no trick. The machine has no trick. It's real. So again, this is what you were talking about, Colin. Like, technology being so good, and scientists being so advanced with their work, and pretty much unfathomable and like doing unheard of things, that they're basically magicians and wizards, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Totally. Cutter also shows the judge the water tank that Angier died in, noting that the trick lock had been switched for a real one, and he tells the judge that the water tank was of a particular awful significance to the two men. And we cut back to the scene of Julia drowning. Jesus. This scene is harrowing, man. Although it's never said explicitly, we assume that Borden ties the Langford double with Julia's permission. Like that must have happened, right? Like even though Borden, continuously says, I don't really know, which is a fair, kind of like a fair reaction because like, I guess he's kind of shocked.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think one thing with this knot too, I think that becomes the problem of them kind of swapping Borden out for Fallon is the fact that like, I think she might be expecting a certain kind of knot, and when it's not there, it throws her off or something. Like the fact that it's not consistent is like problematic. Right. And that ends up kind of, even if it's not the Langford double, if it's just the standard one, she might be expecting the other one. I don't know. There's a lot of different factors in there, but the fact that you're not 100% consistent with it is what leads to her downfall. Whether or not it's the Langford double or whatever, the fact that you're not consistent is what leads to her death.
Right, totally. And for this next part, I just wrote in capital letters, Wolverine or Batman, can someone please help the 80-year-old Cutter break open the water tank?
Dude, right? I was like, come on, dude. You are like, the two of you together have fought off so many fucking villains. Like, how many crunches
Batman,
did you do to wake up?
You beat Bane. Like, come on.
Right. How many crunches did you wake up and do this morning, Pat Bateman? Kick that fucking glass in.
Oh, boy. Cillian Rail. Yeah.
That's bone.
That's bone. This scene's really well done, though. It's very, very tense, man. Like, I really like it. Like, I love the way the music kind of dips down and there's this kind of like the sound of the stopwatch. It's great. Julia drowns, obviously. Cut to a funeral. Cutter tells a story about a sailor he once knew. Told him he went overboard, tangled in the sails. When they pulled him out, it took him 5 minutes to cough. He said it was like going home. Remember that, guys? That comes in later. Mm-hmm. Borden arrives, hat in hand. He seems very remorseful. And Andrea asks him which knot he tied, and Borden doesn't know, even though he keeps asking himself that. So, yeah, man. Yeah. So some time passes. Sarah and Borden are now living together. She meets Mr. Fallon, who Borden introduces as his ingenieur. And it's notable that we don't get many shots of him that hold on him for like 5 seconds. Like, although the makeup on him later is great, I think Nolan was like, we don't really want to hold on this guy for a while.
Yeah, and like I think they like the stuff that they do hold on him for like is too much. Like for one thing, when you really start looking, you're like, that's Christian Bale. Like it's not that hard to pick him out of that thing. Like maybe at first because you're not looking, but once you see it, you really see it. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have hurt to maybe disguise him like a little bit, give him like the full beard, make him like bald, even like do something like because he looks way too much like Christian Bale.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's just the chubby face that like he's got as well.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's in the eyes. You can just
right.
There's that burning like intensity that I'm like, man, that looks like Christian Bale.
Right. So we get the scene that I was talking about earlier. Sarah tells Borden that she's pregnant. The first thing he says is, "We should have told Fallon," which is crazy.
And we're having a baby. Oh, I should have told Fallon. Like as Fallon is part of that weave. Oh, that's a
little creepy actually. But
yeah, exactly.
I remember when I first like put that together as a fucking kid. I was just like, whoa. Borden shows Sarah how the bullet catch trick is performed. Although he tells her it's safe, he still tells her that someone could put something in there. And by the way, man, he's got crazy reflexes to catch that bullet, even though it's not going at full speed. He just catches it. He says, "I love you," and she says, "Not today. Some days it's true." She says that she likes being able to tell the difference because it makes the days that it is true, it means something. And I just wrote here, man, she's such a sweet character, just played so genuinely. Like they couldn't have casted this role any better, I think.
Right, and I love the fact that the subterfuge is still lasting right now. She's like, yeah, you don't love me today, but it's just because you're in love with this magic, because you're sucked up in the magic right now. It's not because you're a twin brother.
People.
Yeah, I've been having sex with 2 different men this whole time.
Yeah, I guess they had the same dick size, but okay.
So Borden, in the case of your daughter, Fallon is the father. Oh, like a Maury Povich set.
Jerry. We see Borden performing in a basement, but the crowd isn't too happy with his tricks and want him to perform a bullet catch. Borden asks for a volunteer and selects Angier, who puts a bullet into a barrel. Okay, look, this comes up a few times, this conveniently selecting of the rival.
Right.
But I don't mind it. I don't mind it because the movie doesn't really work without it.
Well, I don't mind it because, for one thing, that's what I'm talking about. Like, with a full beard and the longer hair, like he looks less like Hugh Jackman than Fallon does like Christian Bale to me.
Really?
Like,
dude, I thought I could totally pick him out of a lineup.
Well, looking at him, first of all, he looks like his fucking character Blackbeard in Peter Pan. Like, holy shit. But just there's something about him that just, like, Fallon to me, just because he's always around Christian Bale, I was always looking at the two like back to back, and I was like, there's a lot of similarities.
Right, yeah.
But because there's only one Angier, like he can slip in really well, but it's not that great. Like, do I think I'd be able to pick him out? Yeah, probably, but I don't know. You know, who knows how long it's been since they've talked? He might have just forgotten all about it. Like, and he's just the most important thing is he's not expecting it, so he's not looking for it.
Right, totally. Borden realizes it's too late. Angier asks him which knot did he tie, and Angier shoots Borden, hitting him in the fingers. It's a great tense scene. Love it, man. The scream is what does it for me. But I love Fallon running to move the gun away from Angier, not because he's scared for Borden's safety, but because he has to protect his masterpiece. Like,
right,
I love that.
He's like, if you shoot him in the hand, so help me God, fucking shoots him in the hand. He's like, God damn it, Angier.
Damn it, now I have to cut my own fingers off.
I gotta lose the pinky and the ring. You know how many chicks I fingered with those two at the same time?
Right, like what if Borden gets an STD? like you know,
oh God,
like it's fucked. It's like, sorry,
yeah, like,
bro.
One of them gets like plastered drunk and gets the Mike Tyson face tattoo. He's like, dude, fucking come on, man.
Now I gotta get one as well. Fuck.
This is why you don't. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because obviously one of them is more reckless than the other, so it wouldn't be totally out of the realm of like, you know, like disbelief.
Right, exactly. He's like, dude, I let you borrow Borden for one weekend and you come back with a fucking dick piercing. Jesus Christ.
Borden writes in his diary that he wasn't sure what knot he tied, and Angier, reading the diary, is frustrated. How can he not know?
Yeah. Part of me thinks he knows. Part of me does think he knows because he knows that Angier is reading his journal. He knows that. So like I don't know if that's something, you know, you can say 1,000 times like, I don't know, but one of the two of you definitely knows what knot that you tied. So like I think that makes it even more kind of menacing, is that maybe at first like he's questioning. I think at first what happens is, you know, he's at the funeral. Which knot did you tie? I don't know, because I'm not the one who did it. The other one is the one who did it. I can't tell you right now because I don't know. But then I think later on, after he blows his fucking fingers off, he's like, I do know, and I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to torment you with this. I think it just adds to that rivalry more and more as they know that they're on each other's heels and that he's reading the diary. I think it's something to fuck with Angier.
I don't know, because like it's like you said, when it did happen, like at the funeral, I do think that, you know, because it was the other one, he didn't know, like, but I just kind of have this sense that one of them has this sort of like, although, you know, they are professional rivals and, you know, they do have this like a little bit of personal rival as well. When Angier is dying at the end of the movie, like Borden actually goes to help him. Like I don't know if he'd be kind of like making Angier suffer, if that makes sense.
I think just after after the finger stuff, after he comes out, I mean, like it's an unsuccessful murder. Like he's straight up going to try and murder him. He's like, dude, not only was your wife's death an accident and she was a willing participant in this, but now you're trying to murder me for it. Like, dude, fuck you. Not only am I going to take your fucking career from you, I'm just going to dangle this around like and make your life a living hell because of it.
It's tough because one of the Bordens is very like sort of sympathetic and a bit softer than the other one. So it is tough to tell, but it honestly is a good question, and like this is a very Nolan thing to leave things ambiguous like this, right? Like
yes, for sure. Very
Nolan thing. We cut back to Sarah and Borden trying to nurse the bullet wound. She says it's as bad as the day as it happened. So yeah, so some time has passed and it's just acting up again. But we obviously know that's not the case, right?
Right, exactly.
Borden's mood swings become more and more apparent. We can't afford the bloody doctor back. He says he can still do the trick they're going to remember him for. So Angier is at a bar enjoying a drink and comes across Cutter, who tells him that he wants to work with Angier because he's having trouble being hired after the death of Julia. Angier tells Cutter that he's settled on the sophisticated name of the Great Danton. We meet Olivia, played by ScarJo. Yeah, I'd want her to be my assistant as well.
Dude, the like when they have her in like that, I guess you call it like a corset. I was like, dude, how can she even talk? Her tits are popping into the bottom of her jaw. I was like, Jesus.
Oh yeah, when Borden's got her, yeah, for sure, dude. Cutter tells Angier a pretty assistant is the most effective form of misdirection. We're introduced to this new bird trick and this contraption that Angier has to wear. Pretty intricate, man, and looks like there could be a lot of room for error, right? Like with this thing.
What are you gonna build next? The wrist revolver for King Schultz and Django? Like, fuck,
dude. Like seriously, if one of these cogs jams, you're fucked.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you see how, like, literally in the next scene, just how delicate this thing is. Now, easily somebody can fuck this up.
Right, but like when Angie is like selling it to the theater guy, I never really liked the way the bird sequence was shot. It's like Nolan himself wasn't sure of the mechanics of the thing, so he's just like, just shoot the metal cage going back into his arm, don't shoot the bird. Like, you know what I mean? I don't get the mechanics of it.
It also reminds me of the Nazi from Hellboy with the blades, like the fucking mechanics on his chest and shit. I love that character.
What's his name? He was awesome, yeah. Angier is performing in front of a pretty large audience. He does the old handkerchief trick. Angier walks off the stage and puts on the bird contraption, walks back out and asks for a volunteer. Lo and behold, who does he choose, Colin?
Michael Caine. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Fucking Batman. Bruce Wayne. I love that guy who's in the background. We've seen them all before, mate. Borden interferes with the device as they pull it and snaps the woman's fingers. Ow. Merritt, the owner of the theater, tells Angier and Cutter to clear out. I've hired a comedian. You know I hate comedians.
Yeah, I love that line.
Cutter suggests coming up with a new trick, something irresistible. If Angier needs some inspiration, Cutter suggests that he go to the Royal Albert Hall, where there's a technical experiment being demonstrated. And then we cut back. Angier is joined by Mr. Ali for a drink. I love this scene, dude. Ali's interested in the cipher, and Angier tells him that you need a 5-letter key to break it. And I love Ali's response. You have a circle of trust with someone's diary you stole.
Yeah,
great.
I like that. Like, kind of like an honor among thieves, like, kind of thing.
Totally. Angier tells Ali he wants the same thing that Tesla built for Borden. Ali takes Angier to the electric field and tells Angier that Tesla electrified the whole town in exchange for using the generators when he needs to. Dude, visually, this is a beautiful sequence.
Dude, again, oh my God, give me a pair of headphones and just let me walk through that for a couple of hours. Like, holy shit, that would be so cool.
Angier wants to know where the wires are, and turns out there are none, and Ali tells him the generator is 15 miles away. To him and to the people of this time period, man, this would be considered magic, but really it's just, I guess, science, right? I got I went down into a little bit of a rabbit hole, and kind of like looked up whether, this is true or not. I didn't really find an answer, but it's like, Tesla may or may not have done this. It's almost certainly a myth. According to biographer John O'Neill, he did, but not quite as magically as it's depicted. No supporting evidence has ever surfaced. Tesla's days at Colorado Springs were meticulously diaried, and no such experiment appears in them. Tesla discovered that the function served by the long inner coil could also be served by a different type of conductor, including the Earth itself. He took a Tesla coil and stuck it in its inner secondary coil into the ground. He input electricity to the primary coil, and this setup caused the current to be sent into the Earth. That current could be received by an identical setup some 20 miles away by receiving the current from the primary coil. Wow, fucking this gets so technical. But yeah, anyway, so I was just interested to see whether this could be done.
Oh, you mean that like teleporting people?
Yeah,
or just the light bulbs?
No, the light bulbs. So although the light bulbs themselves were conveniently wired to a normal power source, the power was transmitted wirelessly. I just thought it was cool. Whatever.
Nikola Tesla representing Wi-Fi.
At the Royal Albert Hall, Andrea sees Tesla's machine, which generates AC current. Seems a little unstable. Interestingly, the guy in the crowd who asked whether it's safe is one of Thomas Edison's guys in the hotel later.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, dude. That's that. It just, even among the scientists, there's still plants in the like trying to ruin people. Like, damn.
Yeah, crazy, man. So obviously, for those of you that are listening, Tesla and Edison had this massive rivalry. It shows up in this movie, but I just love this little detail, this little flourish. It's great. Andrea sees Borden there, looking pretty fucking interested in the machine. Andrea follows Borden to Sarah and his daughter Jess, and he tells Sarah that he loves her and that she says today it's true. Andrea says he saw happiness that should have been his, but he was wrong back then. After reading his notebook, Borden never had the life that Andrea envied. The family life he craves one minute, he rails against the next. So obviously the dual personalities of Borden and Fallon are causing confusion to Andrea. Andrea says his mind is a divided one. His soul is restless. Borden looks up as he reads this in Andrea's diary. This all kind of lends to his wife's suicide, man. It's great, like knowing that, you know, your rival is kind of laying out the reasons why your wife killed herself. It's
right,
great.
Yeah. Do you know whose kid that is?
No. Oh, Nolan's.
Yeah, it's Christopher Nolan's.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Sorry, fucking forgot that. Borden speaks with her daughter and Fallon. Turns out they're taking her away to the workhouse, and we find out that Borden has reconsidered Owen's offer, saying it's for the best. In the prison yard, Borden fucks with the guard. There's not much here except that, you know, we learn that Borden is biding his time, basically. But I'm not too sure to what end.
I fucking love him locking the cop up around his ankle. Like, that's so good. Like, the distraction. Like, you think he's going to do something with the ball, like on the table, but then he drops it and it rolls, and that's where he does the trick. Yeah. I'm like, that's fucking cool.
Bale is fantastic, man, here. Flashback to Andrea meeting with Tesla, and I just wrote in capital letters, it's David Bowie! Hell yeah.
Dude. My Lindsay had a fucking fit. My girlfriend is a huge David Bowie fan. We've got records here. We've got all the Labyrinth pops. We've got all types of shit books. Like her David Bowie is my Freddie Mercury.
And this was a role that was only for David Bowie. Nolan wanted Bowie specifically for this role. So that's pretty cool,
it's crazy. Like, I guess he just comes from a different time, but not a lot of musicians like transfer over to acting like very well. Like, especially as good as David Bowie does right here, dude. He's fucking really good.
You want to hear something crazy? This was my first exposure to David Bowie.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and I was just like, who is this wise, magical dude? He just comes off as so wise, man. Like, I love him.
Well, yeah, and it's crazy because he actually had a pretty like decent acting career for the most part. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his music. I like a couple of his songs, but just like an extremely like versatile artist, and very like. There's actually a great interview with David Bowie on MTV, like back when MTV was first starting, and he's actually grilling the guy. He's like, I noticed you guys haven't been playing like a whole lot of black artists on MTV, like Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and blah blah. He's like, why is that? And the guy on MTV just straight says, well, we have to be considerate of what the people in New York and the people in like Texas want to see as well. And David goes, okay, cool, thanks, see ya, and just leaves, because like David Bowie's wife was black, and he's like, oh, okay, awesome, cool. I was like, that's fucking great.
Good on him, dude. Fuck yeah. Cool entrance of him walking out of the electric field. I dig that, man.
Oh yeah.
Andrea asks Tesla for something impossible, and Tesla says the phrase "man's reach exceeds his grasp" is a lie, and that it should be "man's grasp exceeds his nerve." And I love Bowie here, man. Like, he tells Andrea that it's expensive and that he should consider the cost of such a machine. And just straight away, Andrea's like, price is not an option. Tesla tells him to go home. He can recognize an obsession and that no good will come of it. And go, Colin.
Oh, so did you notice David Bowie's eyes?
No.
Well, one of his pupils is huge. Like, it stays
Was
that
he high?
big. No. A lot of people think he has like heterochromia, where like one of your eyes is brown or green and the other one's like a different color. But David Bowie was punched in the face as a kid over some girl with one of his friends, and it left his like. Just Google him, and you'll see one of his pupils is just massively bigger than the other one. It's crazy. I'm surprised you didn't notice it.
No, I had no idea. I wasn't looking directly into his eyes like a fucking romantic.
It's fucking hard not to look at. He's like a snake charmer, man. I'm like,
he totally is. His voice is what does it for me, though.
Oh yeah.
And I love Angier's line back to him: "If you understand an obsession, then you know you can't change my mind." And Tesla tells him he's already begun to build a machine. Olivia talks to Angier, saying that Angier and Borden should be even, but Angier isn't having it. Olivia suggests a better disguise. By the way, their disguises are terrible. Like, I don't really like the disguises at all.
Well, especially the one that Angier's rocking here. It's like he just shows up with like a mustache on him. Like, dude, come on.
Did you even try?
You're right. The game Guess Who has better disguises than this, dude. You're a fucking magician. Like, come on. Oh, one thing. Did you catch like their initials at all? Did you catch this? I didn't catch it. I had to read about it.
Oh, Abra?
Yeah, what's that? Like Alfred Borden.
Alfred Borden, Robert Angier.
Yeah, Abra. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool.
Pretty cool. Fucking Nolans. Jesus Christ. And basically, this is the scene where Angier finds out about the transported man. This is what kicks off the obsession. He watches Borden's show, and intercut is Angier telling Olivia all about it. He had a new trick. It was the greatest magic trick I've ever seen. And then, fucking Cutter suggests it's a double, man. That comes out the other end, but Angier's not hearing him. He's just like, he wants more. He thinks it's more. It can't be that simple to him. He's like, there's no way that Borden's bested me with the most simple fucking thing. And Cutter wants to find Angier a bloody good double. Colin, what do you say about taking a break right here, my man?
Let's do it.
Fuck yeah. Guys, we will be back with more Prestige. Do not go anywhere. Well, look who made it this far into the episode. Just while we're taking a quick break here, we've got a few things that we just wanted to put out there for any newcomers, or if you're not part of our growing community, maybe this could benefit you too. Firstly, we just want to let the newbies know about our episodes and the way Midnight Double Feature currently is structured. As you know, right now you're listening to one of our feature presentations. When we started the podcast, we basically built the show around our feature presentations. These are movies that we choose to cover and basically go through everything in the movie that's worth talking about sequentially. These episodes are generally longer, and we're definitely looking at ways to spice up our feature presentations by hopefully getting guests on. We also have our upcoming attractions episode. Typically, these come out during the week and are much more shorter than our feature presentations. These are hosted by Matt Vella and basically consist of a conversation between Matt and I about any movie news that's worth talking about, quick reviews of movies that are out of the cinema, and other hijinks. Finally, we have our special features. These are usually one-off special episodes that are mostly experimental and don't really have any specific definition. They could be a sit-down with a cast or crew member, a conversation between the hosts, or just a straight-up different thing that might not even relate to film. Before I let you get back to the episode, I just wanted to thank our listeners and supporters. We definitely couldn't have done any of this without your guys' constant support. If, for some reason, you're not a part of our growing community, head to our socials. We've got 2 pages on Facebook, Midnight Double Feature, which is our main page and has our formal announcements, and we also have the After Party, which is where we post memes, news, and teasers of what's to come on Midnight Double Feature. We're also on Instagram, which is at Midnight Double Feature, and Twitter, which is at MDF Pod. You can also send us an email if you have any grievances or would like to let us know what we're doing wrong. That's midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, guys. Back to the show. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We are back, freshly squeezed. We're kicking it off again with the Prestige. So Borden's just bought Sarah a new place, and she said, I asked you last week, and he says, you called me in the wrong mood. Well, why is that, Colin?
Because
I wonder why.
He's not really Borden. He's fucking Fallon.
He's a different fucking person. We meet Jerry Root. Okay, so this is where I want to talk about the twin things, right? Jerry Root, I really wish they didn't do this double role thing. It just seems like, fair enough, Borden, or fair enough, at least one of them, but both of them have an identical look-alike. I don't know.
Well, because I think it only makes sense with what Cutter's saying. He's like, it's a double. It has to be a double. You know, like he's saying like there's no way it can't be that he's really doing it. He's like, that's just not how it works. And I think this is the best thing that they can come up with until, you know, Angier just goes off on his like quest to Colorado to defy like magic, really, to really find like real magic in a way.
Right, but I mean, like the chances chances of you finding another Hugh Jackman lookalike? I don't know.
Well, because I like the subtle differences. Like, it's still Hugh Jackman, but they give him kind of funny, gangly-ish teeth and a little bit of a bigger nose.
Oh yeah, he's a drunk.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Angier shows Olivia how the trick works. He falls through one side and Root goes up the other side, and they kiss. Cutter introduces Root as Angier, and fucking Root just trips. Turns out, man, Root's a showman. He played Faust, Caesar. How difficult could it be to play the great Danton?
Yeah, I love his delivery right there.
He's great. He's fantastic. He calls his trick the new transported man, and I'm just like, you breaching a trademark there somewhere?
Oh yeah, thank God for non-existent 18th century copyright laws.
Right, exactly. They're just like, we're copying you. Sorry. Angier performs his trick to great success. What you're about to see is considered safe, he says. I love the flourish with the hat, like him throwing the hat and catching it on the other side. It's cool. And also Root kissing Olivia.
Oh yeah.
But the big thing here is Angier taking his bow from beneath the stage. Awesomely shot, dude. By the way, we didn't talk about who did the cinematography for this film. So this is, don't laugh at the name, but Wally Pfister is his name. You childish cunt.
Pfister, I barely know.
So Wally Pfister works with Nolan very, very often. I'm pretty sure they did Inception together. They did Interstellar, all the Dark Knights. Yeah, he's really fucking talented, dude. So and he was nominated for an Oscar for this as well. So really great. But yeah, he's jealous of Root. Turns out he suggests having Root introduce the trick, but Cutter reminds him that he's not a showman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they need Angier to introduce the thing because that's where the audience gets the hook. Angier wants Olivia to spy on Borden. Sure, I'll send you into the arms of another man. No worries.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? You're just fucking the hottest woman I've ever seen in my life. Fine, no worries. See ya. Tesla shows Angier the machine and conducts a demonstration, placing a hat in the center of the machine, but seemingly nothing happens. I love that Tesla just says nothing. Like he's a little fucking stumped himself.
Right, like he's like I know it works. Something is working with it, but it's what is it? Something is. I think he knows that something's up, but he can't really put his finger on it.
Right, and he's not really confident yet to tell Angier because Angier is a bit of a loose cannon. So, but yeah, I love Ali just hurrying Angier out. He's just like, get the fuck out of here. Olivia meets with Borden and tells Borden that she left Angier and that she wants to work with him. Then she tells him that Angier told her to spy on him. Borden fucking nails it as well. He says that Angier bows under the stage and he spotted Root as the double, fucking mute and overweight.
Yeah.
Love it, man. It's great. You can tell like how skilled Borden is at this thing. Like it's fantastic. Olivia said that she's come to offer Borden Angier's secrets. And then Root realizes that he can make demands, right? He blackmails Angier for more money. Cutter suggests stop doing the trick. We don't do any tricks that we can't control. But Angier wants to go ahead with it because of course he does, right? Like it's Angier. And Angier reads in Borden's diary that Borden met with Root, paying him in beers. Borden plants the seed in Root's mind that Angier has complete power over him. Complete power, you say?
Yeah, thank you. Quite good,
yes, John. Yes. This is intercut with Angier performing the trick. As Angier falls through, Root is drinking and takes his time to go up. Basically, he makes a fool of himself. I love his performance here, man. It's great. He's just like, oops, all right. Didn't nail it. But do they fucking get a refund for this shit?
Yeah, right. That shit crazy. I love he comes out and he's just like, oh, I'm sorry, is that my hat? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Angier does the trick again, but this time when he falls through, the pillows are gone and he breaks his leg.
Oh.
Fucking brutal, dude. The sound of it. He looks over and Borden's where Root should be. I love the nod that Borden gives him. This is great. He advertises his show and he has Root tied up. And go easy on the poor chap. He does try so very hard.
Dude, oh my, and dude, if Satan exists, he looks like this version of Borden, like with the mustache and the thing. Like he kind of looks like the devil from that Rick and Morty episode where they have like the where they have like the all the.
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh, dude, never mind. It'd be fucking lost on you, you uncultured swine.
You fucking unwashed mass.
Oh, so good.
Angier confronts Olivia. She tells Angier that she's seen things and that Borden is using a double. She basically confirms it, man. But Angier doesn't want a bar of it. He doesn't want to believe it. He says he leaves those things around. He lives his act. And basically she gives Borden's notebook, right? She gives him Borden's notebook. Angier is happy. I don't care about my wife. All I care about is his secret.
Oh.
Olivia says that she's fallen in love with him and Angier will stage a break-in. Fucking wild. Where are we at? I just fucking lost my place because I'm a fucking newbie.
We've got Borden across the street at like the Pangeum or something like that, like doing his trick, like right across the street. You fucking hack.
Actually, I had to sneeze, so that's why I looked away and I was just like, fuck, where are we? Yeah, all right, fuck off. All right, it's our sinuses. Borden conducts a transported man. This is more dressed up and goddamn Olivia. Holy shit.
Oh, good
Her in
lord.
this black outfit. Oh my god. Borden wants to walk home. He says, let him come. I don't care. Fallon follows Angier, who follows Borden. And Angier leads Fallon into an alley where he falls through the floorboards and Cutter nails him into a coffin. And Fallon just fucking straight up shoots Cutter. Jesus.
Saves me the time of cutting you an owl.
Yes, I love that, man. Borden and Angier meet. Borden is impressed. Fucking Angier is finally getting his hands dirty. Angier wants some method, which Borden writes down. The keyword is the method. He says, by the way, why wouldn't Angier look at it first?
Right? Yeah, that's what I've always thought. I'm like, come on, dude.
Come on, man. He could have just written fucking suck my dick or some shit like that.
Right, yeah,
like,
he could have just written like gibberish.
Yeah. And then Borden gets to digging because, hey, that's my life's work in there.
Yeah, is he alive? Depends on how fast you can dig.
Yeah. The note says Tesla, and they're going to America. Cutter says, obsession is a young man's game. I can't follow you anywhere. Any further. Sarah and Borden have dinner with Fallon and Olivia. Love this scene, dude. I love Olivia calling Borden Freddy. What trick, Freddy? So awkward, dude. So awkward. Can you imagine this fucking situation? Also, I love Borden here. I'm gonna bury myself alive every night, and then someone will come along and dig me up. Like I get why he's pissed off, right?
Oh yeah.
And Bale's doing the drunk Bruce Wayne thing here, like that he does in all of the fucking Dark Knight films, like the drunk,
jackass playboy. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna go. I own the hotel, and I'm gonna go swim in that fucking fish tank. Like, yeah, that thing. So Borden tells Sarah about his terrible ordeal and that he almost lost something very close to him. He still won't tell Sarah what his secret is. She begs him to stop performing, and he says, "Secrets are my life." Wow.
Ugh.
Imagine being married to this guy.
Yeah. Talk about trust issues. You know.
Right. Totally. Angier speaks to the concierge at the hotel, telling him the men outside work for Thomas Edison. We flash back to the moment where Olivia meets Borden, and Olivia tells Borden that his fingers make him unique. His fingers make him unique.
And all I want are nerves.
Fingers are unique, so he shouldn't hide it. He should display it proudly to let people know.
God, she's so fucking hot, dude. Like, good lord.
She is a beautiful woman, man. She was blessed genetically so fucking well.
Yes.
Jesus. She's, you know what? She's actually a great, like, femme fatale.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like, she's not willingly, like, wanting to come between these two, I don't think. Like, I think she genuinely falls in love with Borden. So, like, she's not playing up the femme fatale villain aspect of her character. But if she wanted to, man, I'm sure she could. Like, this is Natasha Romanoff, like, being less sort of like, you know, less of a secret agent, pretty much.
Right, yeah. It's like if she really had some kind of like I mean, she's just going like personally, like she's like, no, Borden. It's also the same thing that kind of brings Michael Caine over to Borden's side as well. It's like he's in this for like the right reasons, and you're kind of trying to like just fuck him up. You're just competing with him just to compete with him. You don't love this like he loves this, you know? Right.
We hear Borden telling Fallon that they can't trust her, but he loves her, and he needs assurance of fidelity, of love. She must help me rid ourselves of Angiers, he says. Borden gets Olivia to give Angier the notebook, and Tesla is the key to the diary, not to the trick. Awesome moment as Angier realizes, dude. Like, this is our first little twist, right?
Yeah, and she's the one who introduced Borden to, is it Root, the double for Angier?
Yeah, Root.
Right,
yep.
Yeah, she's the one who introduced them.
Oh, you know what? I didn't fucking pick that up this time around.
Yeah, because I mean, Borden doesn't know him. Hell, Angier doesn't even know him until she introduces them, so she does the same for Borden, and that's what kind of leads like the downfall of all of that.
Right, yep, makes sense. Angier goes up to Tesla's. He thinks that Tesla's been using his money and has been pulling his leg in the meantime. Tesla tells him the machine does not operate as expected and that they need to try different material to the top hat. They put in Ellie's cat. You're responsible for whatever happens to this animal, doctor. Love Circus, man. Nothing happens to the cat, obviously, and Angie is pissed. There's a lesson here. You can't just throw money at your problems, man. Like, it's kind of like a snobby rich kid just being like, fix it, dad, fix it.
Right.
Like that kind of thing.
Right. He's like, I paid a lot of money. Fix this thing.
Right, exactly.
Well, because now it's like, dude, this is now you know that they never made one of these for Borden. This is an unprecedented machine. Like, what you're asking for doesn't exist. So
right.
If you really want it that bad, well, fucking wait a little bit longer. Who else? What are you going to go to? Edison? He's just got to get it from Tesla.
Right, totally. Angier walks outside and sees the multiple duplicates of the hats and cats. Tesla says he needs a few more weeks to iron out the kinks, and they're all your hat, Mr. Angier.
Oh, yeah, I love that line.
We find out that Sarah has a drinking problem where each of us have our own vices. Borden says, I love you, and she says, you mean it today, which makes it so much harder when you don't. God, so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking, man. Borden meets with Fallon, and Borden says the daughter wants to go to the zoo and that Sarah knows something isn't right. Each of them is in love with two different women. That's what I wrote. That's my note. That's not revealed here yet.
Yeah.
It's like me trying to fucking like keep my secrets in real life. Sorry. Olivia tells Borden that she doesn't trust Fallon, but he assures her that he protects the things that he cares about. And we cut back to Angier, who finds Tesla's lab and his investment in ruin. The concierge tells Angier about the box. So it turns out that Tesla left Angier's device with the hotel before he left. Very fucking honorable, by the way. Like, he could have just taken off.
Right, yeah, and I love that he was smart enough to, like, leave it at the hotel. Like, he's not, I can't leave this shit here. Like, they're going to fucking find it.
Fucking Edison's boys are walking around, yeah. Tesla's later suggests to Angier that he should destroy it, to drop it to the bottom of the deepest ocean. Such a thing will only bring him misery. I love that all the warning signs are here. Like, there's throughout Angier's like journey to perfect or beat Borden, there's just so many like warning signs and like, you know, cautions, but just the level of ambition and the drive to beat his rival, like, he's just totally blind to it.
Right, and that's my thing. It's like, if Bowie wants this thing destroyed, like, why make it in the first place? Is it just because you can? Because you're like a scientist? Like, you know, like, I guess I can kind of get it from his angle. Like, if you really think this thing is so bad, don't make it at all in the first place. But I guess, like, he needs money. He needs some kind of funding to continue making this type of stuff. Because for all intents and purposes, I mean, it does work. It absolutely works. So, like, is it something like he just wants more time to perfect it before? I never really understood that, the whole creating it and then being like, you should destroy this thing, by the way. It's like, well, don't fucking make it in the first place, you know?
Right. I think it's the money, but also I think that, you know, Tesla also has this level of ambition that Angier does as well. Like, he wants to perfect this. He has this drive to perfect this as well. Like, it's just him as an inventor. Like, that first time when they put in the hat and like it doesn't work, and like you see Bowie just standing there just kind of contemplating like, what the fuck is it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of get that level of like, I am a bit of a perfectionist, you know, like, this could be my magnum opus. This could be my defining moment. So I think that's why he does it.
Right. And
I don't know.
They even have that conversation at first where he's like, I know obsession when I see it. And he's like, yeah, because you're like me, you get obsessed on these things. So that's probably got a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah. See, I'm smart.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. Angier conducts a test of the machine. At this point, we don't find out what happens, but this is where we find out that... Oh, fuck, I wrote my notes so scattershot. Jesus. This is where we find out that Angier wants Borden to read his diary, right? Sitting in your cell, reading my diary, awaiting your death for my death.
Oh, man.
Great twist, man. Dig it. Borden talks to Owens, certain that the diary is a fake, but Owens tells him there's no doubt that it's real. And Borden gives Owens all of the tricks to his fucking act, but only the first 2 acts for each, right? Like he kept the prestigious for himself, and he wants his daughter in exchange for the rest. We see Borden and Sarah arguing over Olivia. She says, "I know what you really are," which, by the way, was improvised. Rebecca
I heard
Hall
about
said
that.
Yeah, she was like really scared that she kind of gave away the ending, but Nolan was like, "No, I actually really like that. You know, it's a bit more. It's another breadcrumb, right?"
Oh yeah, for sure.
I love the shot of Fallon reassuring the daughter. It's great. I love, like, you know, because obviously that's a father as well, right?
Right, exactly.
Borden says he doesn't enjoy living like this. Sarah says she wants him to be honest with her. No tricks, no lies, no secrets. And then she asks the big question: "Do you love me?" Borden just straight up says no, and she kills herself. Very sad sequence, man.
God damn.
Very sad sequence. I love, like, her kind of like, you know, walking around the workshop, and then it's like all quiet, and then boom. This is one thing that I wanted to talk about here. People always criticize Nolan for, like, his films are kind of like a bit devoid of emotion. Like, they're always kind of like high concept, high on sort of like high on, I'm not going to say action, but high on like themes and things like that. But like the emotion stuff, like, he doesn't really do well. But I kind of disagree. And like, this is one of the sequences that I point to, really. What do you think?
No, I think for sure, like, are you talking about just in terms of like his like the emotional kind of like resonance of it?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Inception, right? So Inception, you've got this massively high concept, and there are emotional scenes in it, like, you know, Leo and between Leo and his wife. But I mean, like, they're all kind of like not. They seem a bit shallow compared to the like how fleshed out the concept is. What do you think? Like, do you reckon there's a balance there, or do you reckon, you know, Nolan has a hard time with these like emotional moments?
I can see where you're coming from. For me personally, it's not a problem. I think it's just the fact that we end up spending so much more time on like the high concept. Like, you know, I know his movies usually tend to run pretty long, you know, 2.5 hours. But because they're so high in concept, we end up having to spend so much time on them. Whereas like with these, like these emotional bits, like I think they're done well. They're just done very fast, and like because they're definitely not on the forefront. They're kind of subplot. It's secondary to what's really going on.
Right.
So like
that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's what Nolan kind of like cops a lot of shit for. I think.
And I like, it doesn't bother me. I think he does a great job, especially you know, her just, you know, breaking down and you know, him being like, no, you can't talk like that. Stop talking like that. Like I love that. I love that whole exchange between them. But it just, in the grand scheme of things, we spend so little time on it that it seems like we don't really spend that much. When really, when you're watching a 2-hour movie, like it takes up it's definitely a good chunk of like the subplot to everything.
Right, totally. And I think this is the like out of all of like Nolan's movies, I think this is the one where it works the most. Obviously, like Dunkirk. Have you seen Dunkirk?
No, I haven't.
I recommend checking it out, man. Like, watch it on the biggest screen you can and the loudest as you possibly can. But that movie has like zero emotional like resonance in it. Like, only because like you're not really tied to the characters, you're tied more to the situation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, anyway, so Cutter finds a note at the bottom of his beer glass, very much like how Cutter did that to Angie earlier, with the address of a decrepit theater on it. He goes to the location and meets a couple of blind stagehands and Angia. I love the blind stagehands, by the way.
Yeah, that's fucking smart. Yeah.
Angia asks for Cutter's help for his last show, The Real Transported Man. Cutter calls one of his connections Mr. Ackerman, and Angia conducts a demonstration of the machine. Very pretty, says Ackerman.
Well, and also, yeah, let's trust your one-of-a-kind machine, which could never be built again because they're chasing Tesla just fucking everywhere. Let's entrust it to a bunch of blind old men in an unfamiliar place. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, I wrote that later, dude, because like the blind old men are like transporting the water tanks with the Angiers in them later, and I'm just like, I imagine if like these blind fuckers just dropped one of the tanks like onto the street.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the body just flops out.
They're full of water, but when they start moving, I'm like, this is a bit heavy. Like it's got a dead Wolverine inside of it.
Yeah, I can feel the adamantium. Yeah,
it sinks to the bottom.
Yeah. Angier disappears and Ackerman is disappointed, but Angier appears behind him. Forgive me. It's very rare to see real magic, says Ackerman.
Nice. Good line.
Awesome. Borden tells Olivia that he never loved Sarah. A part of him married her and had a baby with her, but the other part didn't. It's inhuman to be so cold, she says, and tells Borden that Angier is back. This is probably one of my favorite scenes with Scarlett. Basically, putting Borden in his place a little bit. I dig this.
Yeah, for sure. Like, this is one of the, man, it's like, and now that Sarah's gone, here's this version of Borden, and he's like, okay, cool. Now I'm gonna, see how things are going with Olivia. And it's like they can't have, like I said, the two of them sharing one life, living a half life. Like, it just can't work. There's no way it can be balanced.
Right, totally. Angier performs this show with Borden in the audience. And I just wrote, is Angier the greatest showman? Get it? Get it?
Oh my God.
Get it? Get it?
Well, this is the last we see of Scarlett Johansson, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
She went out on a strong note, I think. I think it was a great scene. Angier tells the audience that the world is on the brink of new and terrifying possibilities, revealing that the machine, as the curtain rises, a lot of showmanship here, man. Like, we're told that Angier is good at this stuff, and I believe it, man. Like, this is a great sequence. Like, just as the way the music rises and everything, it's great. Angier performs a trick and ends up behind the audience. Man's reach exceeds his imagination. Awesome. He gets a standing ovation and Borden can't believe it. He's pissed at Fallon. 50 yards in a second. 50! He wants to know what's going on under that stage. Why can't you outthink him?
Oh,
Great.
Man.
Love Bale, dude. Love him. Fallon watches the blind stagehands moving the water tanks. Like I said, imagine if these guys fucking spilled one on the street one night. Borden says we're done. Basically, he concedes, right? Like, he just fucking gives up.
Right,
what do you think about that?
Well, because now, like you said, it's impossible for him to do this. There's not, if it's a double, I would find the person out. Borden is obsessive. I just imagine this guy sitting and watching and waiting and waiting and waiting for the moment that he sees the double or whoever's part of the act. Because if it's there, he will find it. But because the double's not there because it doesn't exist, he's not finding it. And when he finally does, that's where our movie kind of ultimately has our kind of downfall, for his character.
Right, totally. At another performance, Borden raises his hands to inspect the machine. This is the performance that Angier wanted to frame Borden for, by the way. So this is the big one for Angier. Because before this, Angier told Cutter, I don't want you on the backstage for this one, right?
Right, exactly. And he knows that Borden's going to be there. He's like, there's no way that he's going to be able to deny coming up, because I think he knows when he starts asking people to come up and see him, come out and check out the machine. At this point, he's like, okay, he's got to be in here somewhere. And then he sees him up on stage. He's like, all right, tonight's the night. And now's when I do it.
Totally. And we've circled back to the beginning of the movie here as Borden goes onto the stage. He sees the blind stagehand and Angier fall into the water tank. But dude, I love this. I love that Borden tries to help him. He's still got this respect for him as a human being. He still wants to, it's not all hatred. It's not all rivalry. He absolutely wants to help him and, save his life. What do you think about that, dude?
Well, I think it's cool because, when you see what's been going on between them the whole time, yeah, they've had a lot of rivalries here and there, and he did the birdcage thing and fucked up his trick, but fucking Angier shot him in the hand, he buried him alive, and it's dude, Angier becomes the antagonist through that kind of stuff, and I think that it really shows on Christian Bale's part, because it's yes, this is a rivalry, and this guy has taken all the stuff from me, but I don't want to see him die, not this way, because I think it also shocks him too. Had he seen it coming or been oh, Angier's gonna drown, blah blah blah, oh well, maybe I don't have so much of a problem with that if I know it's coming, right. But because he doesn't see it coming, it's just instinctive.
And what would have happened if Borden broke the glass? What do you reckon?
Ooh, a lot of fucking explaining to do, man.
Hell yeah.
It becomes a prequel to Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. It just gets really weird.
So we find out that Angier has literally been killing himself every night, man. Imagine the will that it takes, knowing that you're gonna die just to fucking beat this guy, just to win. God damn, that. What an obsession.
Now, see, here's my question: when he teleports, it's so let's say we have like Alpha, like, let's say we have like Alpha, God damn it, I already forgot his character, Angier. Let's say we have like Alpha Angier. He's the original one. He steps into the machine, it shocks him, and then we have the Beta. So is the Beta like, is the original one the one that drowns, and the Beta is the one that pops up in like the crowd, right? That's what I'm to assume.
Yeah, that's what I took it as. Yeah, for sure.
But see, that's just it strikes me as odd because like, would you right now, you would have to kill yourself to let another version of yourself like live. Like, doesn't that seem odd? Like, wouldn't you be killing the clones of it? Because Angier doesn't strike me as a person who like, he doesn't even like the fact that he can't see the crowd when he bows. Like, wouldn't he want to?
He's self-obsessed as well. Like that's a thing,
right?
And this is kind of like a speed bump that I couldn't really get over when I watched it as like when I was younger. I was like, why does he kill himself? Like, why not kill the clones? Like, wouldn't that be easier? But then it's like he also has to remember what Cutter was saying. Like the same reason why he wouldn't let Root introduce the show. Like he is the showman.
Right.
So like in that situation, he always kind of has to be the one to introduce the show as well. But yeah, it is a bit tough. It is a bit tough logically. Well, I can see what you're saying.
Because he says something later on where he's like, at the end where he's like, what do you know about sacrifice? He's like, he straight up says he's like night after night going into the machine, not knowing if it was going to be me and the crowds or down below stage. Like he literally says that. So I think the fact that he says that shows that it's not 100% like it's not 100% a certain thing. I don't know if I'm going to be teleported or if because obviously the machine has some kind of teleportation capabilities. So like, does it teleport the Alpha Angier and keep the Beta like on the stage, or is it because it's not a fully functioning machine? It's not. It hasn't been. He's like Tesla straight up says that. He's like, I'm sorry I had to leave without finishing it. And he's like, it's not done. So I think that it's kind of a 50-50. He doesn't know if it's going to be him each night that's like popping back up. And I think that it's probably the original Angier has probably died at some point because of this. But I think that like I think after a while, like it ends up being the Angier who like basically I think it's the clones that are getting killed. And Angier winds up being the one who pops back up in the crowd, just because I don't think that that's just in his character to not stick around to see the demise of Borden. It's his whole character arc. It's what he wants to see.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but like, how does that work logistically? So like, when he steps into the machine, like that's Angier though.
Right, it's Angier in the machine, but then I like
when the flash happens, Angier, like the original Angier, gets teleported to the back of the theater, and then like in that flash, a clone is created and falls straight through the thing.
Right, and that's what I took away from it, because the only reason why I think that is because he straight up says not knowing if I was going to be the one under the stage or in the crowd. Yeah, that did throw me. I did notice that line a bit more this time around, and it did throw me a little bit. So I think either way, he's like, I win. Either way, I win, but I take a risk. I think the machine is supposed to teleport him away and keep the clone there, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if at some point the OG Angier got fucking caught and drowned and the clone just took his place. And that's probably happened at least once or maybe twice, but for the most part, I think it teleports him and keeps the original where it's at, because that's basically what we see with, at Edison's, we see the top hats popping up at a different location. So I think whether it creates a clone and keeps it there, or it sends the original one away, I think it's, again, Nolan. It's deliberately ambiguous. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's a bit of a puzzler, but again, up to interpretation, right?
Right.
Very much like the ending of Inception, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Borden gets fucking sentenced to death, man. Wild. See ya. Owens meets Cutter, and Cutter notes Lord Caldlow has purchased most of the items, but Cutter doesn't want to give away the machine, so Cutter wants to talk to Caldlow. Borden is visited by Caldlow with his daughter. How great is Bale here when he sees Jess? I love his reaction when Jess walks up and he's like, hello, like he's great, he's fantastic. And then Borden recognizes Caldlow as Angier, and he's just like I pulled you out. And he's stunned, man. He's like, I don't know what you've done, but you're not afraid to get your hands dirty anymore.
Good callback.
Angier says that he won. Wow.
Right.
He did all of this just to say that.
Right, yeah, and he gives him, like, straight up gives him, he's like, no, this is the prestige, this is how I do it. And he's like, it doesn't even matter because I think we can both agree that my trick's a hell of a lot better. And it's like, damn, dude.
Right. Borden says that it's not a competition, it's a little girl's life, and Angier retorts by saying that's not, like, now you know how it feels.
Oh, goddamn.
Fucking, this is deep. Like, who writes this? Borden gives Angier his secrets, the prestiges to each of his tricks, but Angier just tears it up and throws it away because he's done. Like, there's no point anymore. Like, he won.
Right,
He's
yeah.
sentenced to death.
He's like, I don't even care because, like, yeah, your thing might have been a double and might have been whatever, but I don't care because I have real magic now. That's fucking cool.
Right.
I love that. As fucked up as it is, I love that part of him where he's just like, I don't care anymore. I don't need you. Like, you're not even competition anymore because I have something that nobody has ever had. Like, God, that's
Right.
fucking, that beats the, I mean, you fuck it. Be a twin, be a triplet, be a quadruplet. I don't care. Like, I can fucking clone myself. That's cool.
Like, Borden won the battles, but Angier won the war.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Right. So it's a genuinely emotional scene as Borden tells his daughter that he loves her, man. And then, you know, they leave, and I love Borden arguing with the guards. They're gonna bloody hang me. They're gonna bloody hang me. I love it, man. I love like that he's kind of expecting Angier to be kind of civil, like the same way that Borden was trying to save, I guess, Angier's life. But Angier's not about that life, is he?
Well, it's just, it's mind-blowing that nobody looks at Lord Coldlow or whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things you gotta buy.
Right, I'm like, dude, all he has is a mustache on. Like, come the fuck on. Like, the great Danton.
Yeah, but that's happened so many times this movie.
Right, it's like this guy's put on how many insane magic shows and stuff, and nobody fucking puts this together. Like, come on, dude.
Angier is visited by Cutter, who can't believe that Angier is still alive. Cutter says that he's not going to beg Angier for anything, and that the little girl should be with her father. Angier assures Cutter that he tried not to involve him, and Borden says goodbye to Fallon for the last time. Great scene, man. I love it. He apologizes for Sarah and that he didn't mean to hurt her, and he says, "You live for both of us."
Oh,
That's super heartbreaking, man.
oh, and like one of the only lines of dialogue from oh god, Fallon, yeah, just goodbye. That's it. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, dude.
Borden asks the guard if he's watching closely, and then we get the Shyamalan moment as we find out about Borden and Fallon. Awesome twist, dude. Love this. Cutter tells Angier about the sailor and his story from earlier, and that he lied. Drowning wasn't like going home; it was like agony. Angier realizes what happened. Borden is hanged. Abracadabra is his last words. And Angier is shot by Borden.
Oh man, great reveal.
Awesome, dude. Borden breaks it down, telling Angier that they were both Fallon. They took turns. I love the shot of them like cutting the finger. Damn, man. And they each led half a life. We each love one of them. I love Sarah. He loved Olivia. Sacrifice is the price of a good trick. It takes nothing to steal another man's work, but Angier begs to differ. It takes everything. How fucking great is this dialogue, dude?
Well, I love that, and I love one thing is the like he's like the trick is in when we would swap, like when one of us would become Fallon, because that's what really threw people off. That's how people knew that I couldn't possibly be Fallon, because like nobody knows that there's another of me. So like as soon as, you know, he would go into the box, the other one would pop off and change into Fallon real quick, and boom, the illusion continues. Like, damn, that's fucking
Right.
That's so fucking sharp.
But I mean, someone's gotta know. Like, someone must know. Surely.
Well, yeah, his wife did, and she quote unquote hung herself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We cut back to when Angier tested the machine for the first time, and he basically just shoots his clone immediately. He says that it took courage overnight, not knowing whether he'd be the man in the box or the prestige. Like you said, Colin. Angier tells Borden to look where he is, and fucking Borden doesn't give a shit anymore, right? Angier says it was the look on their faces. That's why he did it. He dies. It's a beautiful fucking moment, dude. We close on Cutter telling us about the 3 parts of every magic trick, and we see Borden be with his daughter again. By the way, did Cutter do this for justice because it was the right thing to do?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so as well, right? Like that's like I don't think Cutter is any part villainous throughout this movie at all. I think he's pretty genuine. So and Borden looks around and sees all of the other Angiers encased in this fucking crypt, I guess, right? And you want to be fooled. And that's The Prestige, written and directed by Christopher Nolan.
Dude, yeah, I love I think my favorite part of this is this whole dialogue between them at the end where he's like, you never understood why we did this. Like, if you can make them wonder, he's like, the whole world, it's solid all the way through. He's like, and they know like what the truth is, but if you can make them even start to doubt, like the look on their faces, he's like that, and he's right. That's something he has never understood. Like I think he gets it a little bit, but like the magic has always been, it's my thing. Like I want to live that world. Like I don't care what other people think about it. I just want to be a part of that whole thing. And so they both, like, you put the two of them together, it would have been like a perfect act, like a perfect magician. But they're both of them are just missing the parts that the other one needs. And I love that about those characters. Are like just the kind of the same side of the coin, just split down the middle.
It's beautiful, dude. It's a great story. Great characters, man. Great execution as well. With a real touching, heartfelt story like wrapped around it, man. Like it's fantastic. Give us your final thoughts on The Prestige, Colin.
I love this movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I'm glad to get some Nolan under our belt, but I'll give it probably like a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. There's a couple things that just get a little bit clunky with like, okay, so who's doing what and how does this thing really work? And I think the ambiguity is cool with like when you want to do endings and when you want to do, you leave things open to interpretation. But when it comes down to like how the physics of this thing actually works, that's when I don't like the ambiguity. So I lost a little bit of that from me because you've taken us that far with this high concept idea, but like we still don't know which one's the real like Angier and how this thing actually works. And so that was the only thing like that just kind of left me scratching my head. It's not a big nitpick, but it's enough to make me be like, I can't really give you a 10 out of 10, but I'd say a 9.5.
Yeah, I think we're on the same level here, man. I'd definitely give this a 9 as well. Like you said, really happy to get some fucking Christopher Nolan on there, dude. Like this is a director that we've consciously waited a while to cover, right? Because all of his movies are fucking fantastic. So we don't want to ruin it. And we had fun doing this podcast, man. I definitely dug talking about The Prestige. This is a great, fantastic movie. Like you said, I can't give this a 10 only because for me it's not really about following the plot or the logistics of the machine. I think for me it's more about like I can't get over the weird fucking disguises and makeups. Like it was kind of like a bit jarring, a bit like kind of like one of those situations of like, how have you not recognized this person yet, or how do you keep choosing this person to be the volunteer? Those things are a bit off for me. But honestly, a 9 out of 10, man. Like that's nothing to fucking shake your head at. Like this movie is outstanding, and definitely is a great film from a great one of the greatest directors of all time. I'm gonna say. So yeah, man. Really glad to have covered it. I'm gonna plug the socials, Colin. What do you have anything else to say before we head out of here?
No, not at all. Just I had a blast doing this, and I'm just sad because we've covered it, and now I can't cover it again.
You know what? We could probably one day in the future, when we're like 80 years old, do it like a remaster or some shit.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We are Midnight Double Feature. You are listening to a feature presentation from us. Basically, this is a episode where we go through it and go through a movie and just basically break it down, have fun. We also have upcoming attractions episodes throughout the week. Basically, those are with Colin. With Colin, with Matt and I, and we just go through the latest movie news. Give our thoughts on trailers and give our quick little reviews of movies that we've seen in the cinemas. So if these big movie breakdowns aren't your thing, then hopefully those are. We have 2 pages on Facebook. That's Midnight Double Feature, which is our main page, and then we have our sort of like meme/news page, which is called The After Party. After Party's 2 words. So be sure to check us out on there. We also have our Instagram page, which is at Midnight Double Feature, and then we also have our Twitter page, which is at MDF Pod. And you can find Midnight Double Feature anywhere. That's on YouTube. We're on fucking Spotify. We're on iTunes. So definitely check us out wherever you find all of your good podcasts.
You know what I just realized? Listener comments. We got some fucking comments on this bitch that I forgot about.
Oh, Oh, before we head out, you know what? I've done that so many fucking times, man.
No,
It's
that's why I
just
was
been
wait.
hell yeah, hit us.
Adam Talbot just said, love this movie. Thanks for commenting, Adam. Can't agree more. Fiona Ward, this is one of my all-time faves. I love this movie. One of my go-to for Saturday nights. That's fucking awesome.
Love Fiona.
Jessica Vizina, I love this movie. Can't agree with you more. And Eric Mason just posted a gift of Robert Redford as Jeremiah Johnson smiling at us as the camera pans in. So that's a fucking great one. I love that one. But yeah, thanks for commenting in, guys. Half the time we get to them, half the time we don't. So
yeah. Usually, we kind of like blank on it. We're just like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Oh, people actually listening. Holy shit.
Holy shit, we have contributors. But no, before we go, one last request. If you are listening to us, please rate and review us on iTunes. We would really appreciate it. Even if you think we deserve 1 star, just give us 1 star, but at least tell us why. Just where we can improve and what we can do better. We'd really appreciate it. So, guys, that's it for us this week. Tune into our upcoming attraction soon, and we will see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.